Hi, thank you very much for joining us. The first chapter Friday. Today's book is Tomie dePaola's 26 Fairmount Avenue. This is nonfiction. This is autobiography by him. Okay. When my daughters were small, we used to check out many picture books by Tomie dePaola, and we really loved him very, very much. And unfortunately, last year, March 2020, Tomie dePaola passed away at the age of 85. He created more than 260 picture books and some chapter books. And we still love him very, very much. I have one poster, okay, by him. Of course, it's copy. And also, I will explain to you one book later time, okay? So this is the book about growing up in Connecticut. He was 4 or 5 years old. And it's a really lovely story of family and friends and neighborhood. And I just explained to you. Before that, this is, let's see, publisher is, I believe, Puffin. Okay? Yes, Puffin Books. Okay, good. Yep. Tomie's mom, dad, Nana, and Tom, that's Grandpa. Grandpa liked to be called Tom instead of Grandpa. And Uncle Charles and Viva, the Maureen's, Buddy, that's big brother, right? 4 years older than Tomie. Aunt Nell and Nana. So he had 2 Nanas. How lucky he was. Mr. and Mrs. Crane and Carol Crane. So Tomie dePaola wrote about 2 Nanas. And this is a book. This is a really lovely book. It's called Nana Upstairs, Nana Downstairs. Okay? I just love it very, very much. So, chapter 1. I didn't always live in the house at 26 Fairmount Avenue. We moved there when I was 5 years old. I know that because in 1938, when I was still 4, a big hurricane hit Meriden, Connecticut, where we lived. We had just started to build our first and only house. When people told my mom and dad that house was twisting and turning on its foundation, just like Dorothy's house in The Wizard of Oz. A real hurricane had never reached all the way up to New England before, so nobody was ready for it. Would you like to see this? And look at this twist here. We are living in an apartment on Columbus Avenue. We all lived on one floor. Another family lived upstairs and we lived downstairs. It has been raining for days and days, and some of the rivers were overflowing. And there was a really weird brook near our backyard. It was called Harbor Brook. It wound all the way through Meriden, and factories dumped stuff in it. It was different colors on different days, and we were told not to go near it. Right before the hurricane, the water was so high and murky that I was hardly allowed to look at it, much less go near it. Come away from there, Tomie, my mom would call. Right after lunch on the day of the hurricane, my mom was talking on the telephone when my dad came home early from the barber shop where he worked. My brother Buddy, who was 8, was at school. His real name was Joe Jr. after my father. Dad and Mom talked in the kitchen. Then Mom said to me, "Get your coat on, Tomie. We have to go to pick up Buddy and some of the neighborhood children. There's a big storm coming and they are letting everyone out early." We got in the car, drove to the school in the rain. A long line of cars and teachers with kids were waiting in front of the building. I looked up and saw something I've never ever forgotten. A boy was standing at the top of the steps holding an umbrella. All of a sudden, a gust of wind blew, and really strong gust. The boy went up and up and up in the air and floated down the stairs just like Mary Poppins. It was scary driving home to Columbus Avenue, the car filled with kids. Buddy, Carol Crane, my best friend on Columbus Avenue, who looked just like a child movie star, Shirley Temple. Only Carol had red hair, Shirley Temple was blonde. The Adams twins, Fournier brothers, and few others, all talking and screaming. Branches fell off the trees. Leaves swirled around the car, and a sign flew off to Massetti's grocery store and just missed us. But we made it to our apartment. Mom let us out and we ran inside. Carol's mother, Mrs. Crane, was already there, and she was really scared. Mrs. Crane was scared of storms, especially thunderstorms. If there was one clap of thunder, Mrs. Crane would be knocking on our door and calling my mother, "Floss, Floss." That was my mother's nickname for Florence. My mother liked being called Floss, but she liked Flossie even better. My mom would open the door and Mrs. Crane would push in, pushing Carol in front of her, and nothing would do except for my mom to get a bottle of holy water she's gotten from St. Joseph's Church and sprinkle some of it on Mrs. Crane, who wasn't even Catholic. I guess she thought that Catholic holy water was better than nothing, and it must have worked because Mrs. Crane never got struck by lightning. On the day of the hurricane, my mom calmed Mrs. Crane down and promised she'd get the holy water, while my dad parked the car where there were no trees. First, Mom lit some candles because the electricity was out. Then she took the holy water and sprinkled some on Mrs. Crane, and everyone else wanted to be sprinkled too. Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Morin and their daughter, Alithia, who lived in their apartment upstairs, came down. I guess they thought with all the voices and everything that it was a party. We crowded around the windows and listened to the wind howl and watched it blow. Stuff all over the yard, tree limbs, lawn furniture, garbage cans, even a bird bath. Then it got really quiet. We looked up and saw a little round patch of blue sky through the dark cloud. "That's the eye of the hurricane," my dad told us. I didn't see any eye, but before I could say anything, the wind picked up and the rain started all over again. "I hope the new house is okay," my dad said as the wind roared by like a freight train. My mom pulled a book off the shelf and started reading a story to Buddy, Carol, the Adams twins, then Bonnier brothers, and yours truly, just as that she read to Buddy and me every night. Finally, 3 hours later, the hurricane of 1938 was over. People started coming out of their houses. Do you have electricity? Someone shouted, or I should read it like this. Do you have electricity? Someone shouted. No, do you? Someone answered. I pestered my mom so much that she let me go outside with Carol, her brother, Buddy, her father, Buddy, and my dad. And branches large and small, and leaves were everywhere. We could hear sirens wailing. We walked to Hemlock Grove, a small forest of tall hemlock trees at the end of the block. It was a mess. Be careful, I don't think it's all that safe, one of the neighbors told us. Trees had fallen in all directions, crisscrossing each other like a giant game of pick-up sticks. Some of those trees stayed there for a long time. And after we moved into 26 Fairmount Avenue, and I felt brave, and I'd take the shortcut to Columbus Avenue through Hemlock Grove. One tree lay across a little stream, and if you had good balance, you could walk across it. I guess 1938 was a special year, not only because of the hurricane, but because it was the year we started building 26 Fairmount Avenue. Here are the trees. Okay. And I will show you this one too here. Okay. So if you like the chapter 1, cool. If you like to continue, check it out. Okay. All right. So I hope you are going to join us again next, my first chapter Friday. I'd like to introduce you kind of easy chapter books, and I will show you also some titles, all right, that if you are reading like a beginning reader and I would like to move on chapter books, and what I'm going to introduce is kind of between and a very easy chapter books, all right. It's kind of short story and then still a lot of illustration, okay. So that's what I'm going to do, all right. So please join us. So meantime, I'm happy reading, and I encourage you to do lots of craft, all right. So stay safe, all right. See you later. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.